Hello and welcome back to Daring and Doing. I'm all Hester and I'm joined by the brilliant Ben Bowman. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you, mate. We learned some sad news last night, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah. What I've got to say is that Ben Davies man of the match performance against Arsenal in the North London derby.
It's going to slap.
He's gonna slap.
He's going to absolutely slap. Daddy Davies to the rescue.
Yeah. You know, we had a week of like trying to hate watch Arsenal and they're getting knocked out of the Champions League. They win yesterday, and then all of a sudden, standing in the pub on my phone, get a message from someone. Have you seen the Udogie news?
Absolutely gutting. Do you know what?
We've cold and wondering why.
Ben's been in his feels this morning. Honestly, he ain't been the same since hearing that news. Because this is a re-recording. First of all, fuck Riverside. All right, just putting that out there. The company we do with, because this is annoying because we've done this. We hate watching Arsenal. We were talking about them crashing out the Champions League, talking about how it's all crumbling for them. They've only gone and beaten Wolves last night, so all of that is irrelevant now, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then the Udogie news, mate. It's like one bad thing to another.
Yeah.
It's just so. First of all, is this how we going to fare without Udogie for the remainder of the season, and like who's going to play there, or like the possibilities of who plays left back, and also how's his season been, because he's been absolutely integral to our success this season.
Yeah, I think that's the best place to start. I think give him the flowers that he 100% deserves, because young player, only played a couple of seasons really in Serie A. Has been absolutely excellent, and I'm gutted for him for the Euros as well. Like he's not necessarily guaranteed to play. Obviously, DiMarco has had an amazing season at Inter Milan, and he is the number one choice for left back or left wing back in that Italy system, and he's been excellent. But he would 100% go, and he would 100% get game time as well. And it's probably something from a personal point of view that he's worked towards the whole season. But from a Spurs perspective, he's been incredible, and it's gutting not to have him available, because you think of how well he turned around his own game in the North London derby at the Emirates, the games he's had against the big sides this season, the games he's just had on a consistent basis. Just an excellent defender who's taken to the Premier League like a duck to water, really. So integral to our system, and it means that we'll have to make a change, maybe not just in terms of personnel, but in terms of style, really. So I'm gutted for him, really. And it's just, the fact they come out the blue like that in training.
I know. Was it training that it happened?
It was in training, yeah. Spurs tweeted out this morning. I'll get the announcement up for you, mate.
Because what the fuck does he have?
It's to do with sorry, I'll keep typing Sputs into Twitter, not Spurs. So we can confirm Destiny Udogie has undergone surgery to his left quadriceps, having sustained an injury in training earlier this week. The defender will continue his rehabilitation with our medical staff and is expected to rejoin the squad during pre-season.
What is your quad? Is that like your thigh?
I think it's the back of your thigh, isn't it? Is your
back of your thigh?
The front of your
hamstring.
No, it is your. Oh shit! Yeah, no. You can tell we went to school. You can tell we did biology.
That's why I failed sports science and at A level.
Yeah.
It's I don't know where it is, but that's devastating for him. And I hope. I mean, the good thing is that it might have been a case where he plays through it, and that just damages him. You don't want to overplay him. He's already been overplayed this season.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to talk about like incomings, because this is a bit of a this episode. Apart from this, like we're starting on a negative. We're trying to turn it into positive by just giving Udogie his flowers. But this episode is sort of like a fun, like, what if this, looking forward to the summer, where Spurs go from here, looking at our fixtures, seeing whether we can get top four, etc. It's a bit of a fun one because we're not playing. Udogie, he was overplayed this season, and it's one for, like, we can't afford to lose him next year if we're in Europe. And I'm happy that he's. I mean, I don't know the extent of the injury, but if he's got an injury, I'm happy that we're not trying to get him to play through it, and that he's taken the surgery quite quick. And he seemed quite positive on his social media when he uploaded the news. So hopefully it's just something where he could just recover over the summer, come back firing, because we don't want to lose him for a sustained period, and we don't want this becoming like a recurring thing, because he's actually been okay with injuries considering how much he's played so far this season.
He's missed a few games here and there, hasn't he? But nothing.
but he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then Ben Davies. So what's your go-to? You going for Daddy Davies, left back?
Yeah. I think it has to be. I think I was saying this last night. I think I don't want to put a positive spin on it, but like obviously part of the good news last night was that Pedro Porro should be back for the North London derby. So at least we've got them, at least we've got one of them back fit for that game, or one of them fit for that game. In a way, as much as we've said on this podcast in terms of Porro and Udogie and maybe who is better or who is more integral, I think Udogie is more key for us. I do. I think he's the better fullback. There's not much in it. They're different in terms of style. But in a funny way, I actually think an injury to Udogie, despite how important he is, isn't as dramatic as if Porro was to be injured, especially in this run of games, because I love Emerson Royale and he's been, an incredible servant to Spurs and has been reliable at times. But in terms of the long term, if one of them sustained a long-term injury and that's the fullback cover we have, you feel more secure with Davis in the team than Emerson. So again, you wouldn't want either of them injured, and you don't want to put Udogie and Porro up against each other. But it's not. I don't know. It's
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah,
it is a tricky one. But yeah, I need to stop calling him Daddy Davis. Ben Davis. Ben Davis is a really reliable squad player. Like, I know he has his flaws, but and people like to point them out when we're not playing well. I think he's a player that's sort of been scapegoated, put in the same category as like Dyer, and I can't remember who else last season, or Højbjerg, etc. From last year, where people were looking at players that we needed to upgrade. But he is such a he's not even a steady Eddie, because especially this season, his performances have been incredible. And last, when he was under Conte in a back three, when we got Champions League under Conte a couple of years ago, he was outstanding in the system, and he is a player that comes in, doesn't make a fuss when he's not playing, and he does a job. I've seen a few things about Van der Ven playing left back, because when we signed Van der Ven, they were saying, well, he's a bit versatile. He can play left back, he can play centre back, a bit like Vertonghen, that type of model. But he's so key for us at centre back. He is absolutely integral, vital to the way we play that high line. And we lose so much when he's not in the team. We've seen how important he is, obviously, by Newcastle, but we see how important he is when he's back. And I think we don't want to do too many changes when we're going into this tough run of fixtures. We don't need it to be so significant. I think Davies comes in, okay, we lose a little bit in attack, but he's still very competent as a defender, and I don't see many differences between Davies defending at left back and Udogie. Obviously, Udogie has bundles of pace, but Ben Davies has a smart footballing head. There's ways around that. Obviously, when he's playing against the likes of Mo Salah, Saka, and who plays on the right for City, Foden or Palmer. Oh shit,
Palmer, Madueke potentially.
Yeah, Madueke, yeah. But you know what? I trust Davis. He's a very reliable defender, and we'll see how he fares. But got it for Udogie.
Yeah, man. I think
is that
Davis,
what you do?
Yeah, I would. I think Davis will be relishing this opportunity as well. Like, he's the captain of his country. We've seen how much he can step up for Wales and for Tottenham, and whether it's playing at centre back or left back, he's been an excellent deputy for Spurs over the course of the season, mainly at centre back, to be fair. But the fact that he can go in and do a job there, where he played centre back under Conte, played centre back for Wales a lot in the back three, but playing a centre back on the left hand side in the back three is very different to playing as a centre back in the two in Ange Postecoglou's system. But he took to that brilliantly for the most part. Again, alongside Emerson Royale for the most of it.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
So adjusting without that proper real centre back partner there. Obviously, played some of the games with Romero, but like you said, I think especially going into this run of games, that's too much change. It's like now, and I think people just say, we had this conversation. Actually, I don't even think we were doing the pod yet, but I think generally, like, the conversation on Spurs Twitter when I think it was maybe the Wolves game that we lost when we had Porro and Udogie out. Van der Ven had just come back from injury, and obviously there was kind of this desire for people to desire from people for Dragusin to play, and people were saying, well, that we should move Van der Ven over to left back and play Romero and Dragusin. I think people just see Van der Ven as pace, good on the ball equals left back, and like you said, obviously with Wolfsburg, he did play at left back occasionally, but again, playing left back, you're not a left back in Postecoglou's system for the most part. And I think Van der Ven is very comfortable on the ball, but I wouldn't want him receiving it with his back to goal on the halfway line, looking to turn and then play a pass. He can be quite I don't want to say clunky because I don't want to make it sound like I'm, I don't rate him, but
it's his frame. That's his frame,
exactly,
isn't it?
Yeah. And it's Udogie is strong, small, low center of gravity, be able to pick the ball up, turn dynamically and run with it and go forward. Van der Ven, I don't think would be able to do that. And I think people just see that Van der Ven's ability to stride out with the ball from the back, similar to what Vertonghen used to do. I don't think Vertonghen could maybe work in that sort of system either. People will compare him to Vertonghen, but for his ability to play left back and centre back. And like I said, Van der Ven's ability on the ball is highlighted when he's able to run with it from the back and carry the ball up the pitch. That's not what Udogie does. That's not what our left backs do. So, yeah, I think he could get exposed a little bit in there with midfielders around him kind of clipping at his heels. I would try and keep things the same as possible. And again, like people would say about Dragusin and maybe do, but people would argue that the same people that want Van der Ven to play at left back have been the ones saying that Dragusin doesn't look comfortable on the left hand side of the defence.
Exactly.
And then they might argue that you should put Dragusin over to right back and Romero to left back. Then you've changed 3 players around in that back 4. Sorry, it just doesn't work for me. So I think you've got to just trust Ben Davies for me.
Yeah.
You could play Emerson there as well. Like if it's not working, Emerson has showed that he can play on the left hand side. I wouldn't be against that necessarily, but I think Ben Davies is your man for me. I would.
Yeah.
He's been a brilliant servant to Spurs. Give him the chance.
Exactly. There's been a lot of conversations around Tottenham's defence recently, anyways, and talking about bringing in maybe a bit more solidarity. I think Doggie's more defensively sound than Porro. I'm not taking.
Yeah.
Don't take anything away from Porro. I think Porro's been fantastic in comparison to last season, like with his defending abilities, massively improved. But there has been a lot of talk about a tweak in the system, sort of thing, and having a more defensive fullback to sort of tuck in a bit more defensive support. So we get to see that maybe there is a tweak in the system, but because we've been forced to make that tweak, or Ben Davies just does that role to the best of his ability, and we just see how he sort of comes together and how that turns out. But yeah, it's devastating. But it's a chance for Postecoglou or for Johan Lange to look at their fullback position and think, okay, we're going to be in Europe. We need this defensive cover. Say Porro gets injured, like touch wood, he doesn't. But if we have Emerson and Davies for this tough running, there might be some like fragilities there. And Paul O'Keefe's been tweeting that he hasn't heard anything yet on fullbacks coming in. So maybe this is the chance for the board to see that we are fragile in depth for fullback. And to say, okay, this is an area we need to strengthen in the summer. Because I can't believe, I mean, obviously we're going off of Paul O'Keefe here. Like, it might not be the case, but I couldn't believe that he said, hang on, I don't think fullbacks are necessarily something the Spurs are looking at. Because I feel like we're going to get into that anyways, but I feel like that is something that we're going to need to get into. Going off onto some like not irrelevant. It's not relevant to Udogie or Davies, but something that had merged for last week was the Spurs new kit was leaked. How you feeling about that, Ben?
Well, interestingly, I ran a poll on Twitter because I've got 700 followers. I've got a big pool of people to pull from. Obviously joking. I just thought, I love kits. I'm a kit guy. I love the discourse and the kind of chat around it. I was like, I wanted to get people's opinions on like whether they preferred that first or second leak. I'm in the camp of, I'm still team leak 1. I still prefer that. I like the more classic look. I do like it, but I think the second one is a grower on me. This new Kappa 0506 Lasagna Gate.
Not a shower.
It's a grower, not a shower, I think. Yeah, exactly. It's got more to prove, I think, that kit. And it's always like the same. Like you see it from like fans of every single club being like, well, once we actually see it on the players, then it looks completely different. So
exactly. Yeah.
So we had on the poll 56 votes. So that's a decent little sample size that to go from. 57% of people preferred the first kit. But I feel like I've seen a lot of tweets being like, "This is so much better," as in like the second one. And you're in that camp, aren't you?
I'm team grower. Yeah. I'm team grower. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, no. I'm team grower with this football kit. And because I actually specifically, I actually really like it. I really like it. There's that retro sort of feel to it from flashback to 06, 05, 06, is it? Obviously, I was fresh out the Vagine then, so I can't remember us playing it, but Ben will know.
Yeah, I was 25 when that kit came out.
Had a mortgage,
exactly,
kids.
mate. I've gone Benjamin Button. I was how old would have been? What was that? I would have been 7 or 8 when that kit came out. So that was my second season following Spurs. So my formative years, and the heartbreak of Lasagna Gate on the final day of the season. I remember being around my nan and granddad's house watching our beat Wigan at Highbury and all that. And I remember going actually because I was thinking that kit really reminded me of Aaron Lennon, and I was thinking, get Brennan Johnson, because there's a pitch like Aaron Lennon used to wear the long sleeves, and I was like, get Brennan Johnson in them long sleeves. I was like, we've got Aaron Lennon 05, 06 here. I remember there was a game that we played 05, 06 at home to Bolton. It was the last home game of the season, and we won 1-0, and Lennon scored that sort of classic Lennon goal where you get the ball drift to the right and then bang straight across the keeper. And I remember being in the Paxton Road end as like a 8-year-old, just like, we're getting Champions League. And then it was like we had guaranteed like Europe, and we went into the final day 4th because of that goal, and it was like, and then what happened. So that kit is kind of remembered for those reasons. But I remember Robbie Keane scoring the goal against Blackburn in that kit, where he flicks it over the defender's head, brings it down and then tucks it in the corner, and he's giving it the old way. For the audio listeners, I was doing the gun fingers that Kane used to. The worst part of that celebration, by the way, was just like the gun. It looks like doing a TikTok dance now. But yeah, good memories of that kit other than Lasagna Gate. I quite liked it when I was a youngster. I had Edgar Davids, I think, on the back of that kit, who was another player that it reminded me of. I remember going to get it printed on there.
But we had Thompson, didn't we? Because we did at the time, did we?
Yeah.
So the AIA, which people have been saying, it keeps fucking ruining the kits, and it kind of does. I
think it's just a bit more.
It really resembles that Thompson kit because it was red as well.
I think it's just a bit more like garish, the AIA, isn't it? It stands out like a lot more than the Thompson, doesn't it? It's very bold. So I do get it. But we've had red sponsors for ages, and it makes me laugh like the fume every time. Like a new home kit comes out, it's like, why is the sponsor red? It's like, because it's been red for 10 years. Like, it's just like, you're not going to change it.
I know, we've still got like 4 years contract on it.
Exactly. Stop getting annoyed about stuff you can't control. And also, all the people moan about Nike. Although, I've seen some stuff about Nike's, like, Nike is sort of, they're going under a little bit, Nike. There's been some financial things that haven't been the best for them.
What? Serious?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of have you noticed? Okay. I mean, I'm a nerd with this kind of stuff, but there's been like a lot of players that have left their boot deals with Nike.
Oh yeah, Harry Kane.
Harry Kane was one of them. The old Skechers.
Joined Skechers. Yeah.
Neymar. There's been loads. Romero for us. Like I know Romero. He's not exactly one of the biggest players in the world, but there's been a lot of players that have left their boot deals with Nike, and it feels like something going on there. But we've got. I'm pretty sure we've got Nike until 2032. That was a long deal. It was a long old deal, like a 15-year deal. So
go get that fucking Jordan kit.
Yeah, get the Jordan. Go and get the Jordan kit.
All black.
Yeah, blackout. Me and Sam Cornish agree on this. Shout out to Sam if you're listening. But I think blackout kits are the most overrated things in the world. Because every club's done them. I don't mind having a black kit. I'm fine with it. But like, if we have like a blackout Jordan kit, like Dortmund do it every single year with
yeah, that is true.
Black kit. Like when we first recorded this, you were talking about the Modric kit, weren't you? I say the Modric.
The yellow stripe, like black yellow stripe. Very nice.
Yeah, that was nice. But the yellow, I remember that.
Yeah, a sewer
Was that last time we had a black? Did we have a black kit under Armour as well? It was like I remember Swansea away.
Harry Kane. I can just see Moussa Dembele wearing it.
Down the middle, wasn't it?
Of course. Yeah, I had that kit as a kid. Actually. My first ever kit was my birthday. I was like, I don't know, like 6, 7. I got Scotty P on the back.
Oh man, I love
that. I don't know. It was the season before Bale had that like ridiculous season.
11-12. He was our player of the year.
It had that Erasmus.
Yeah,
really serious.
Player of the year.
Yeah. Really
quality.
What was your first ever kit?
My first ever kit, I remember. So when I was like really young, like 3 or 4, like I wasn't, if you say like you're into football and you're like 3, you're a liar. Like nobody really is. I was into Thomas the Tank Engine and fucking Bear in the Big Blue House, mate. But what got me into football weirdly was David Beckham, because it was kind of that era, and I didn't have a team, but I just liked David Beckham. And I had all like the David Beckham annuals and like whatever, and like that kind of got me into football. And then I didn't support a team, And then my stepdad came along when I was like 5, and literally like his Spurs season ticket holder and was just like, right, you're coming with me. And then literally I remember going to my first game when I was about 6. And I remember I got through to his house because we wasn't living with my mum at the time. I got through to come through the door, and he just had it was a Kappa Spurs kit. It was navy. One player makes me think of was like Noah Pamaro for some reason. If you know who Noah Pamaro is, or like
I don't. Yeah,
he was like fullback, French fullback. It was like a navy 04-05 away kit Spurs shirt, and it was just there hung up on the door like a little one. I was like,
oh, that is quality.
It was quality. Yeah,
what a touch.
That was my first ever.
Yeah, that's well nice.
That was my first ever kit. Was the 04-05 away kit, and then we moved. Then we had another season with Kappa, which was the one that everyone's talking about now. And then we moved to Puma, and I remember all the Puma kits. The Puma kits were like, we had some really decent ones, but as a kid, like I remember going to get them. There was a Spurs shop, we're still there in Harlow, like near where I live, and going to get it like printed and stuff like that. And I remember I had a Robbie Keane Puma home shirt the first year we had Puma. It was a really nice kit. It's the one we were in the UEFA Cup in the first year, and obviously we're going to go and talk about Europa League, so it's a nice little tee up. But I remember having Keane 10 on the back, and then all of the numbers just peeling off in the wash. Like the quality of the kits was so bad in them days. So bad.
Couldn't wash it.
Yeah. What would you say since you've been like supporting Spurs? What do you think your favourite kit is that we've had? Like, there's loads of like quality old kits, but like in the modern era. Because I think Nike have done a much better job than people actually say. Like, I think.
Well, in the Champions League, like the Champions League kits were like very, very nice. The purple one that we only used a few times, that was very nice. Like the dark purple we played against like Juventus in, that was really nice. There was always kits like that that were just that they were special.
Yeah,
were special.
I've got that with Dyer on the back of that shirt.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, you've worn it on one of the pods, and I said, it was a great kit. Mine has to be like the season that really got me into football. The season that I watched my first ever game has to be the Prime Bale kit with the silver stripes on the shoulders, just because that was like nostalgia for me, thinking that's when I actually become like a proper Spurs fan. Obviously, I just love football, but I hadn't been to the game. Yeah. I didn't know why people love football as much as they did until that first game. That was when Titty scored an absolute, sorry, Mum, thunder cunt into the top corner. Everyone went mental, like in the Lyon section, and we were like, oh my god, what a goal! Everyone was like applauding it almost, and then the announcer was like, Samuel Titty, and I just remember everyone being like, Titty? Who the fuck is that Titty? Won the World Cup,
5 years later,
like 5 years later, scored in the semi-finals of the World Cup. Has disappeared off the face of the earth, but he was playing left back then, and he scored an absolute great goal. And then Bale scored last minute free kick. He scored 2 free kicks that game.
So that was your first ever Spurs game, that Lyon game?
First ever Spurs game,
nice.
And then I was like infatuated.
Yeah, I was at that game. I remember where our tickets used to be in the Upper Paxton Road. Like we were in the corner, like the bit basically. For anyone that remembers, anyone that remembers, wasn't that long ago. When the last year at White Hart Lane, basically we sat in the bit that got knocked down, so we were like right on the corner, up the top. So we moved to the Park Lane for that last season. That's where our seat was, and so like you can imagine with the Umtiti goal, literally we were right behind it, like we were like up a tier in the Paxton, right in the corner. It was like we were just like I still think that to this day that's the best opposition goal I've seen scored against Tottenham.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the exact same.
I couldn't believe
it. My first ever game.
And then Bale scores 2 quality free kicks. You know when Bale, the yellow Adidas F50s, the long sleeve, all white kit, God. And when he changed his hair that season as well to he had like the sort of like a Mohican before. I say Mohican, but it was like part of the front, and then he put it to the side. Long sleeves, yellow Adidas F50s. You knew it was over with Gareth Bale. He went on that run where it was just unbelievable. And we couldn't score free kicks for fun after that. We couldn't, other than Eriksen actually. And then Harry Kane lived off that one against Aston Villa. But he finally scored a free kick yesterday.
Oh my God! Yeah, the end is nigh. The end is nigh. Quickly on Harry Kane. Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, I think
if they win Champions League.
Champions League or Euros, I think he's got to win it. I think it'll be him or Bellingham because it's like they do like La Liga, don't they, with the Ballon d'Or? It's kind of got that La Liga tax or whatever people say.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think it'll probably be one of them two. But Kane, 100%. Kane's the best footballer in the world, man. 53 goals in 41 games. 53 goal contributions in 41 games. Like, he's just joking, man.
Yeah,
unreal player.
joke.
And
yeah.
obviously, I know the Arsenal hate watch was paused momentarily last night when they won, but the hate watch wasn't paused. The laughing at Arsenal was paused last night. But
yeah.
Harry doing his best to help knock them out of the Champions League.
Shout out Eric Dyer.
Shout out Eric Dyer, man.
Eric Dyer, Maldini.
Euros?
Mate, fair play to him. Such a testament to his character if he manages to win. I mean, how the fuck are we in this position where he wasn't, when we didn't even have centre-backs and he wasn't even making the bench, and people thought, his career is gone. He's probably going to go to Sporting Lisbon or somewhere in Portugal and then finish his career there. Yeah. How the hell has he managed to find his way in the Bayern Munich first team in a Champions League semi-final with Harry Kane? Yeah. It is a joke, but testament to him, testament to his character and his mindset. Unbelievable, and fair play if he gets Euros. Like if he goes to the Euros, fair play to him because he has resurrected his career this season within a few months. Fair play to him.
Yeah,
benching Heung-Min.
Yeah, exactly. My guy.
Wow,
love Eric Dyer. Told you, got him on the back of that kit.
Yeah,
mate.
Fair play.
Yeah.
What a guy. Before we get into like the transfer window that we're going to talk about, looking at the run-in, Dan Kilpatrick released an article. Please, Ben, could you break down the article for our lovely listeners?
Yeah, so obviously we've kind of been on this Europa League versus Champions League discussion for feels like the last few weeks now. Obviously, some people would prefer us to be in the Europa League for our development. Some people, obviously, naturally want to be in the Champions League. And I feel like we both sit in that camp, but we're both very kind of aware of what the Europa League brings for us and why we should actually be excited about it in terms of what it can do for our development. And I understand why people are in the Europa League camp, but I think you've just got to aim as high as possible and see where that goes. But obviously Villa have got the initiative now, the driving seat for top four. Spurs have still got that game in hand, but who knows? Villa are playing today. Obviously the pod will be out after we know the result. I think they're playing Bournemouth. So hopefully, potential new signing, Dominic Solanke, could do us a little bit of a favour there.
Come on, Solanke.
So Dan Kilpatrick wrote a piece basically saying how the Europa League is more winnable than ever for a team like Tottenham. So for the first time, obviously the Europa League has adopted the same format as the Champions League, the kind of league format, and then it will go into the sort of the knockout playoffs after that. The top teams in the group, I can't remember how it goes down, what teams it goes down to. Probably 16, I'd imagine, because it's I can't remember. Anyway, I'm doing a great job of explaining this. So the top teams in the league format will go through automatically to the knockouts, and then the rest of the teams will sort of play in a playoff to then go through. So, but the key thing about it is there'll be no drop downs from the Champions League for the first time ever, which is amazing because I think it was something like only one in the last 11 Europa League finals has not been contested by at least one team who had dropped down from the Champions League. And ironically, that was the Chelsea-Arsenal final that happened the same week that we lost to Liverpool in the Champions League final. That was the only final in the last 11 years not to feature a team that had been in the Champions League that same season. The only Champions League teams that will drop down into the Europa League is the ones that lose the playoffs before the actual competition starts, which is, it's fine in those kind of preliminary rounds. So that's an advantage first. Yeah. There was a tweet as well of kind of the projected pots based on sort of current league position and the coefficient. Tottenham would naturally be in pot one, kind of given our European history, how many times we qualified for Europe over the last sort of 15 years, kind of since we first back in under Martin Jol. And it's pretty decent for Spurs. If we were to qualify for it, there are a few teams that would give Spurs fans a little bit of PTSD. Most notably, Dynamo Zagreb in pot two. They would be projected to be in there, and obviously we all know what happened the last time Spurs played Zagreb in the Europa League. And obviously, this is the thing, like with the Europa League, the fans that do want it, actively want the Europa League as opposed to the Champions League, have to remember that our record in the competition isn't that great. We've got to the quarterfinal twice since 2006, and going kind of back to the formative years of Spurs, Sport Spurs, and the kit conversation that we were having earlier. I vividly remember us getting knocked out to Sevilla when I was a youngster in 2007, and us going like 1-0 up very early on in Seville, Robbie Keane scoring, then losing the first leg 2-1. They scored a last-minute goal, and then within 6 or 7 minutes of the return leg at White Hart Lane, we were 2-0 down. Steve Malbronk had scored a ridiculous own goal, trying to clear it off the line, and Freddie Canute, who had left Spurs that summer to go and sign for Seville, had scored against us, and it was all looking horrible until we then scored 2 goals in the space of like a minute in the second half, and it was 2-2, lost 4-3 on aggregate. And that was a heartbreaking moment as a child. And then I think it's only been once since then that we've got through to the quarterfinals, and I think it was Basel, and we got knocked out on penalties, I believe. I think it was penalties. It was that. It was that year that you were the Gareth Bale year. It was that's the year that I remember.
Yeah, because we beat Lyon in the second. Moussa Dembele
beat Lyon, beat Inter Milan after that as well. We were 3-0 up at home, then lost 4-1 in the San Siro.
Yeah, I know. I fucking love Europa League. I don't even care. Like, you think, because and again, this is me going to the first sort of games, my first games, like personally, I just love it because when I was young, growing up on Europa League, just looking at the players that were playing in that time, Lamela hat trick against Monaco, I was like by the pitch, like really like on the touchline, like Trippier was like literally. You could hear me and my brother shouting when he took a corner.
Yeah. Come on, Kieran!
And yeah, I still sound the same. I'm still waiting for my balls to drop. And then it was like I saw Mbappe when he was like, what was it? Mbappe
Lotin,
yeah. Lotin. Yeah, Mbappe Lotin. And I didn't even know until lockdown. I watched the highlights again. I was like, he got an assist. I was like, when did Mbappe play? And he would have been right in front of me. I had no idea. I was watching like one of the best like prospects he's going to go on through incredible things. Obviously, but yeah, I had no idea. Like, Europa League is that competition where you have all these gems. This is like the gems being introduced to the scene. Lucas Bergvall, that's all I have to say. This is his moment. Like this, Lucas Bergvall, players of that caliber.
You think like players like Harry Kane were made in the Europa League for Spurs, really?
Exactly. So I've just got great memories about it. What's your favourite Europa League memory then? Go on. Get a bit of Europa League nostalgia.
Yeah, like again, going back to being a kid, like I remember that run to the quarterfinal against Sevilla. We played like Braga, home and away in the round before that, I think, and Berbatov and Kane, just like that. It was the real forming of that partnership. Berbatov scoring like ridiculous goals. If you've got time, like they might not be on YouTube because it's hard to find highlights from those kind of years, but I was found have a look on like Daily Motion because that's where I found the Sevilla highlights. That was mad, but like have a look on there, like the Spurs' UEFA Cup run, and it reminds me again of like having the season review DVDs like when I was a kid and that. And maybe actually they are on Spurs Play, but I don't know how far they go back if anyone actually is subscribed to that. But Braga, I remember that 2007. I think we won 3-2 in both legs. They were cracking games. And then, the Lyon game, and that Inter Milan, like I said, we nearly chucked away a 3-0 lead at home, and when Bale was doing his thing, and some good memories. I remember getting knocked out by Anderlecht. Oh no, I can't remember. Did we beat Anderlecht?
We keep saying about great memories getting knocked out.
Anderlecht, but I think we got knocked out by PSV on penalties, and I maybe we drew Anderlecht. I can't remember. We got knocked out by PSV on penalties, and who was it that saved all the penalties for PSV? Aurelio Gomez, and then we go and signed him. And
oh no way!
Man.
That's incredible.
I remember some weird ones. I remember we played Shamrock Rovers. I remember Harry Kane scoring away from home his first goal for Spurs. I remember the home game. They went 1-0 up, and I've never seen like away fans like it. It was like pandemonium in the away end. Lots of good Europa League memories. Yeah. I just think look, you've got to aim as high as possible, and you've got to strive for Champions League football 100%. But we shouldn't turn up on those. In pot one, we'd be in there at the moment based on kind of standing and coefficient in terms of the league positions. We'd be in there with Frankfurt, Club Brugge, Rangers, Ajax, Atalanta, Porto, Napoli, and it says Manchester United on this graphic, but obviously they're not sixth at the moment, so
it might be Newcastle.
So it feels winnable. It feels like the thing is you have to put into context Spurs' poor record in it, but it feels winnable. Like you go into pot two, it's not writing off these teams, but Sociedad Zagreb, AZ Alkmaar, Braga, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Young Boys, obviously Champions League, we beat them. Molde, Victoria Plzen, Freiburg, this is in pot three now. Bilbao, obviously, who have already qualified for it anyway by winning the Copa del Rey. And then in pot four, you got Nice, Genk, Sturm Graz, Lons, who Arsenal had that Champions League game to be proud of against them. Pot four of the Europa League.
I've run to be proud of.
But it feels winnable, and it feels like a good opportunity to bleed through some of this young talent as well, like you mentioned with Bergvall.
Yeah. Exactly. That's when the Europa League is exciting, because you just get to see players that you're never really going to really see if you're in Champions League, because you don't want to take that risk. Like if we're relatively comfortable, but it has improved since we've last we was last in it, like the caliber of the teams.
Without doubt.
Actually, or maybe the quality of them, because there were a few teams that were in the Europa League that just weren't as good, but there were still great teams. Like even that Monaco team that we beat still had the young
they
Mbappe,
then beat us in the Champions League the following year at Wembley and away from home. So,
yeah. Exactly. But let's go through the teams then and see if Spurs can beat them, because I actually think we're more likely in this sort of like projected potential Europa League lineup. We're more likely to do a Spurs and go out against like a Dynamo Zagreb or like a Nice or do you know what I mean? We're more likely than that to go out in those sort of games in a shock game than when we play, say, Frankfurt, Atalanta. Do you know what I mean? I think we'd be more up for those games. It's it's the games where Spurs rock up thinking we're going to win and we could just get stunned that I'm getting nervous for. But Man United or Newcastle, do you think we got a better chance of winning the Europa League next season?
I think so. Yeah, I think we should. I mean, Man United are a funny team because it's like you would back them to go quite far in it, even like given how poor they've been. Like Ten Hag got them to the quarter-final or semi-final in the first.
They got to the final under Solskjaer.
Got to the final under Solskjaer. Got to the final under Mourinho as well. But I think, why not, man? Definitely. Fuck it. Definitely. 100%.
Yeah. Napoli, we beat Napoli?
Napoli this season, without a doubt. They've been really poor. Osimhen probably won't be there next season. And Osimhen...
They might have Conte next season.
Oh, God, can't deal with that. Imagine a final against Napoli under Conte.
Fuck it now. Imagine losing to that dickhead.
He'd be going to leave. He's like, fuck off.
He'll run up to... Who did he hate? Basuma.
Yeah.
Give him Basuma a large. And then Porto?
Porto would be tough. Yeah.
That would be tough. Like away to Porto. Same with Atalanta.
Atalanta.
Obviously, they've just spanked Liverpool and gone through there. Ajax, see us beat Ajax.
Run it back.
Rangers, run it back. Yeah. We were saying in the pod that got lost in the files, Lost Files pod, we were saying we need to run it back, have like a last minute winner, but who is going to be that player to score a hat trick? And it's going to be like Solomon. I can't believe it.
I've got Jermaine Genius alongside me here. I can't believe it.
Can't believe it, Fletch.
Glenn Hoddle in the studio trying not to have like another heart attack.
Ferdinand's like grabbing him. He's literally just recovered from a heart attack.
Dragonstainer's done it.
Yeah, and Brian Hill for the hat trick. But oh my god, run it back against Ajax. Rangers, Club Brugge, Frankfurt. Frankfurt are a good team, but we can beat all these. This is what I'm seeing here is Europa League 2024-25. Fucking winners, mate. Tottenham Hotspur. We have to win it.
I'm hearing in my ears right now when we go to lift that trophy. That sweet, sweet music. Whoa. I just love the opener.
I love that.
Just love it. Love it.
It's so good. Yeah, Ben is becoming Mr. Europa League, the voice of reason.
UEFA, give me a call. If you want help promoting the competition next season.
Literally. No one does it better than you.
I'm the biggest advocate for the Europa League. Even though I think we should definitely still 100% focus on qualifying for the Champions League.
Yeah, 100%. But it's again, we're going to go through that. Don't you worry. We're going to go through that. The run-in to Champions League, and we're also going to look at Villa's run-in as well. But moving on then, little fun thing to do. So we know we're going to win the Europa League next year. Yeah. We know that. That's done. We've already realised we've beaten all those teams to the Euros. Fucking Euros. Yeah. Europa League.
We're gonna win it all.
We're gonna win the Euros. Have you seen that thing? It's like it was a girl on Twitter, teenage girl or something. She said this was years ago. I think it was like 2012 or something. It was she tweeted out saying, my dad's just said that if Chelsea win the Euros, he's going to buy me a car. Come on, Chelsea! Something like that. So that's like the same thing.
I'll tell you what, though. With the Europa League, I don't know whether we're going to come on to this, but there's some young talent in this Spurs side that I think could make their name a little bit in the competition next season.
Yeah, 100%. Players that are on the peripheral and players that are not. Obviously, hang on, actually, I forgot to ask. You went to the youth team, didn't you?
I went to watch.
You went to the youth
went to watch the under-21s yesterday. 2-2 draw against Man United as we kind of look to, solidify that place at the top of the league in the Premier League too. It's been a weird few years for Spurs' academy. We had a shocker last season with the under-21s. Basically, should have got relegated, but was saved due to a kind of rule change in the format, which prevented us from being relegated. Then essentially the whole under-18, under-19 team has sort of made that step up to the under-21s and absolutely smashed it. It was, to be fair, it was a very young Man United team that played yesterday. They play, like, there's a lot. I was actually chatting to one of the coaches, weirdly, who was, like, sat next to me. He was asking me about Jamie Donnelly, because I was like, where I was sat was, like, it was at Stevenage at the Lamex. So, like, obviously there's the dugout, like, on the pitch, but then there was a lot of Spurs staff, including Pat Jennings, who was there yesterday. Who was like behind me. Yeah, so there was like the Man United and Spurs, like all backroom staff. Like I was like at the end of the row, then there was like the sort of separator thing, and then it was like all the staff. And then when Jamie Donnelly scored a beautiful goal to make it 2-2, tried to little 1-2 with Will Lancashire, play around the corner. Lancashire goes through, gets clattered by the keeper. Probably should have been a penalty, but comes back to Donnelly on the edge of the box and just a little dink over him from just outside. It was a beautiful finish.
Yeah, nice.
Literally, as soon as the goal went in, because the guy, the Man United coach, could like tell I was a Spurs fan. And he like turned around to me and was like, God, your number 10's good, isn't he? He was like, what, who is he? Like, what's he? And it was like, oh, Jamie Donnelly. And he was like, has he played that much? And he was like, yeah, he's played like Prem minutes. And we was like having a chat about it. He was like, nah, he was like, what do you sort of think about? And he was like, he feels like the one, that's going to maybe sort of make that.
Well, you said that. Well, you said that.
I said that. He was like asking me because he obviously probably didn't know that much about him. I don't know what level of staff he was, but he was.
I was gonna say, keep your fucking hands off him now.
Your hands off him now. Yeah, it turns out he's actually a scout, and well done. I've just sold Jamie Donnelly to Man
United. Yeah, we can blame Ben. Yeah, thanks, Ben. Fucking hell.
But he was. Yeah, I said to him, I was like, Donnelly kind of feels like the one, and I think that obviously we're kind of going to get onto this in terms of like the players that maybe we're going to do like a sort of a keep or sell or maybe loan when we go through the squad in a minute. But I think that I was listening to a really good podcast. It was on the ripple effect. Harry Brooks, who I'm sure you all know who Harry Brooks is, was talking about the importance of kind of loaning some of these younger players out and kind of playing men's football and having that experience, because Spurs have been brilliant in the 21s this season. I know everyone's so kind of keen for them to make that step up. And I know Donnelly's been on the bench. Iago Santiago, who had a brilliant game yesterday, just a constant threat on that left-hand side, was on the bench.
Yeah.
I did a video on my TikTok about it if people want to go and watch that, sort of a few clips from the game and everything. So go and have a watch of that. Because they've been on the bench a fair bit, people just want them to make that step up. But I think that we have to be careful and make some of these players go out and play proper men's football. It's a big step up, but plenty to be excited about for sure. Tyrese Hall was excellent yesterday, like kind of seen as that long-term successor in that midfield, deep line sort of midfielder, number 6, number 8, whatever you want to call him. Brilliant in that second half, just completely dominated the game. The way he strides with the ball, wins it back. He's a real player, so watch out for him. Will Lancashire again scoring yesterday. I think he scored like 16 goals in the PL2. Obviously, Jamie Donnelly's goals and assist stats at PL2 level just insane this season. Just everything sort of goes through him really. But yeah, Wayne Burnett has done a brilliant job with the under-21s, and they look like they're going to win the PL2 title.
Nice.
It was quality. It was great to go down there because often they just play out the training ground. But if you can get down to Stevenage, go and watch them, because these are going to hopefully be the kind of future lifeblood of the team.
Another trophy.
Exactly.
Send that to your fucking friends.
Exactly. Tottenham have my trophy. Oh, did you want to look at the under-18 Premier League Cup last year? It's like the same cup. I'm pretty sure the under-18s are in the quarter-final again or semi-final again this year. I think so, yeah. I think so. Obviously, Mikey Moore. Might have been a lot of Mikey Moore.
Yeah, let me ask you then. Yeah. Mikey Moore, what is that boy's potential? Because Alistair Gold's saying that he's been impressing the coaches in first team training. 16 years old. He is 16, isn't he? He's turning 17 in August. 16 years old in full training for the first team. That is ridiculous. What is his potential? And can you see him getting minutes in the Europa League?
Yeah, you don't want to.
If we are in the Europa League, I don't want to say we are definitely.
It might come too soon for someone like Mikey Moore, but there are definitely other players that we should be excited about who could make that, like Donnelly or Santiago. Like they're all old, 2 or 3 years older than him, but the fact that he was pulled out of the under-18s, didn't play for them, and trained with the first team all week at Spurs this week, impressing the coaches, like you say, you get that Alistair Gold piece on it. I was quite excited because I thought, the fact that he's not been playing with the under-18s, I thought maybe he's going to make the step up to the 21s.
Oh yeah, cool.
Which I believe he did do last season. I think he did play 21s football for like a couple of games towards the end. I might be wrong. And again, this is kind of why the season was really poor for Spurs last year, because some of these players were just not cut out at that level yet, and more playing like 4 years above his age grade when he was like 15. I think he only played like a couple of games, but he was instrumental in the under-18s cup win, the Premier League cup win. He scored an unbelievable goal against Nottingham Forest. I think in the final of that. I might be getting the competitions mixed up, but yeah, brilliant goal. Go and watch that.
Yeah.
But Mikey Moore, I think his potential is just limitless, isn't it? You see some of the goals, and you know there are people that you sort of trust in terms of the voices around the Spurs youth team who say, look, you know, wait on this player a little bit, be careful on him. Sort of, you know, maybe he needs a couple of loans in that, but I think there's this unanimous kind of consensus about how excited we should be getting about someone like Mikey Moore. And it was so important to tie him down to like a long-term contract like we did last year, because there were other teams looking at this guy thinking, you know, who are we playing against here at this, you know, under 17, under 18 level? And it was frightening. So it was, I thought I was going to see him for the 21 yesterday because he hadn't been in with the under 18. So,
but he bypassed that into the first name, maybe Arsenal, North London.
Yeah. And it's Mikey Moore on his Premier League debut.
Send the dagger to the Arsenal hearts. They're out of title race. Mikey Moore, that'd be insane,
mate. But yeah,
where would he play for if he played next year in the system? Would he be in that Maddison position, or would he be like an out and out winger?
He's played everywhere for Spurs like this season. He's played up
front.
As well, yeah, I did a video on Mikey Moore like 6 months ago. It was one of my first videos on TikTok that kind of got a bit of traction. That and Jamie Donnelly, and I think people, you know, rightly sort of getting excited when they hear their names, and then it makes you want to keep sort of tabs on their progress. And Mikey Moore's been playing up front. He's played out on the left wing. He's got the feet to do that. He's got that low centre of gravity, almost kind of Hazard-like. He's played in the 10. He's just that kind of really well-rounded attacker. But yeah, he's played up front for a lot of the season, which probably isn't his best position. And I think going and playing up front, we've seen it like with players like Scarlett and that who haven't quite been able to kind of grab the opportunity. Although Scarlett is like, feels like he transformed from a little bit of a boy into a man like over the last year. When you look at his,
he's an absolute beast,
unit.
Absolute
obviously
tank.
Came on against Forest. And Ange seems to really like Dane Scarlett, so hopefully there is a future for him at Spurs. But Mikey Moore, man, get carried away about a player like that.
Exciting times ahead. Right, Ben, we're gonna have a little fun now. We're moving on to the transfer window. Obviously, we can see that summer. It's getting closer. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna be Ange Postecoglou. Mate. You're gonna be Johan Lange. All right. Or actually, fuck it. You could be Don Paratici. It's always better being the Don Paratici. Yeah. Okay. So Paratici, you're on bail, and we bailed you out for this meeting. We're going to go through. So first of all, we're going to go through a keep, a sell, okay, through the whole first 11, and then we're going to move on to who we're going to sign, what players we're going to target, and our ideal Tottenham transfer window, Tottenham summer. So starting with the keep and sell, Postecoglou.
Get rid of him, mate. Yeah. See you later, Angie. Gone, mate.
Not good enough. Vicario.
Keep, obviously.
Keep. I mean, he's going to be there for 5 years. Yeah. But we're moving on to a bit of a problem. We don't really have that second goalkeeper. You know how, like, Arsenal have had Ramsdale and Raya. That's not going to be there next season. No way is Ramsdale going to stay there. Obviously, Chelsea have rotated keepers. They're irrelevant, no. City, Ortega is exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. And you're looking at teams now that are having two keepers. We have Fraser Forster. One, do you think we should sell Fraser Forster and keep him? And is there like a young player to come in, maybe? Actually, we could get into that, but Fraser Forster, are you keeping or selling?
I think just because he's homegrown, I think maybe you keep. He's good around to have Jesus Christ, he's good to have around the place. You've got Brandon Austin and Alfie Whiteman. Does having Forster there sort of stunt their development a little bit? Maybe they're talking about new contracts for Austin, maybe for Whiteman as well.
Yeah.
So I'd maybe potentially lead towards selling to give them a bit of a platform, but I wouldn't be unhappy if he did stay. He did sign a new contract, didn't he, Forster?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and in an ideal world, like we bring in a young homegrown goalkeeper to be that be our Kelleher to Vicario's Alisson. So, yeah, I mean, I would keep him, but in an ideal world, maybe keep Forster around anyways, have another homegrown player, and then have like a goalie that come in. But we're obviously going to get into the transfer window later, like who we bring in, the incomings. But so Forster, are you selling?
I would sell, yeah.
Sell, okay. Brandon Austin and Whiteman will do together. What you think with them?
I think I'd keep one around and maybe loan the other one. I think I'd probably keep maybe Brandon Austin at the club and maybe loan out Whiteman.
He's 25.
Yeah, no, he's not.
And so is Whiteman.
They're not kids anymore. They've been around for Spurs for like a long time. I think I'd keep Brandon Austin at the club and maybe give Alfie Whiteman another loan, or the other way around. I'm kind of fine with both, really. But I feel like Austin is maybe that little bit more ready. He's kind of been on the bench, but I'd kind of do what you want with either of those two. But I think one of them should maybe stay and one of them should go on loan.
Being a backup or like a third goalie must be the best job in the world. You go to training every day. I mean, Whiteman looks like he's having a great time. Yeah. Like he's cultured,
pure vibes.
Cultured, DJ, unbelievable guy was Alfie Whiteman. Moving on to the defence then, Radu Dragusin, obviously keeping him. I like the look of Dragusin, by the way. We haven't seen much of him. I do like him. I can see him, again, another player that Europa League's probably a perfect step for Dragusin's development.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he'll be playing a lot, probably most games in the Europa League, I can imagine. And that level, I mean, people forget he's 21 years old. That is perfect for his development. And it's also not really in the spotlight. So, the thing is, we've seen with Van der Ven, Romero, the system we play, it makes you vulnerable as a defender. So you've got to be unbelievable and a specialist in. So Romero's a specialist in being the aggressor. Van der Ven's the specialist in recovery pace. Dragusin is another one of those. I'd put him more in the Romero. He can do recovery tackles, but put him more in the aggressor type. Seeing him in that right hand side, away from the pressure of the spotlight, could benefit him massively. Emerson Royal.
I think it's time to sell. I think it's time to sell. I think that I love Emerson.
Sad.
He's been amazing for Spurs. Vibes FC when Emerson's in the team. But I just think he's a very good defender, very capable. But I think in terms of like wanting to progress with the system that we're playing, I think you need to look at someone who's maybe more specialist to do that. Or there's not necessarily players that are specialist inverted fullbacks. Porro and Udogie weren't that, but look how well they've done. But players who might have the technical quality to be able to fulfill that and the defensive awareness as well. So I think I'll probably move Emerson on.
Yeah. He's another player. He's perfect for the dressing room. It's just, and I think he's torn in the articles that emerged in January. He loves living in London. He's really, really settled. He's just had a baby. But he does want to play. And do you remember in the summer, was it his agent coming out saying he wants to play for like Real Madrid or something like that? Do you remember that? It's like, all right, Emerson. Who's going to tell him?
Not that guy,
but you're not that guy, pal. But I love Emerson. He's the GOAT. He's the king. But it's if we can get 25 mil, if who was it? There was a team in Saudi that bid 25 mil in January. It was probably the right move keeping him in January for that cover. But if we get that in the summer, I'd snap your hand off. I would. 25 mil. That's a big profit. Christian Romero, Pedro Porro, keeping
without doubt. Yeah,
we're keeping without doubt. Ben Davis.
Keep. I think you've got to keep Ben Davis around. I think obviously we're going to. I think we'll see why. I do think we'll see why in the next few weeks. I think Ben Davis will be that guy. I'm gutted about Udogie, like we said earlier. And I don't want to go over stuff we've already talked about, but I'm kind of calm with Ben Davis. He just brings that sort of just presence and that leadership, that maturity.
Experience.
Love him. I think he's such a brilliant character to have around the place. And you shouldn't just give handouts for that but it's also based on what he does when he steps on the pitch for Tottenham as well. So, Daddy Davis is here to stay.
Is he homegrown in the Champions League?
No, he's not. No, because he was club trained at Swansea. Yeah,
of course. Well, I mean, I'd keep him as well. I would, and he's got 1 year left in his contract. He's one of those players that you kind of need those players in and around the dressing room. I'm thinking for the experience, for the versatility. Obviously, he did so well coming in covering Van der Ven. If we need that again next season, by like if we get another centre back, he gets injured, Dragusin gets injured, or Romero. Davis is another player that you can rely on him. You can. He's proven time and time again that he is a valuable player in this team,
absolutely.
a valuable asset. And all the successful successful.
Like,
Daddy names for a reason.
Yes, very successful.
For the successful teams that have like won the Champions League, won the Premier League, I'm thinking James Milner.
Yeah.
A very reliable, experienced player, great to the dressing room, an unbelievable trainer that sets the standard. That could be our Ben Davies. And I'd love to keep him around for until he gets his coaching badges.
Yeah.
Mickey Van Aven, Destiny Udogie.
Yeah, keep.
Yeah, keeping. Alfie Devine. It's a fucking Alfie Devine. Alfie Dorrington. Yeah. What are you doing with him? And Ashley Phillips?
So they kind of, you sort of almost have to talk about them together because obviously Phillips has gone out on loan at Plymouth and really, really impressed, helping them kind of trying to maintain that relegation fight, but they lost yesterday to Stoke, so they might get relegated. But it feels like Phillips will definitely get another loan next season if Spurs feel like that's the right thing to do. Apparently Sheffield United have been linked with him quite heavily. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Obviously Dorrington hasn't gone out on loan yet for Spurs. He's injured at the moment, Dorrington. Obviously, he didn't play yesterday for the 21s. I think he's had
a few injuries.
He's had a few. Yeah, he came back. He got injured on international duty, I think. And you're talking about players here that have captained. I'm pretty sure Donnelly, or sort of moving on to Donnelly, but just the Spurs kind of youth teams in general have captained England. Ashley Phillips is captain England this season. Donnelly, I'm pretty sure, is captain England. I think Dorrington has played a lot of football for England as well. And the fact that they're both playing together, Phillips and Dorrington, at the same age group for England is really, really encouraging for Spurs going forward. In terms of sort of building those partnerships are so crucial on the pitch. So I think a little bit like the goalkeeper situation. I think one should maybe stay and one should go on loan. But I feel like there's been a lot of chat about Phillips going out on loan again next year. And if it's to a bottom half Premier League team maybe or a top half Championship team, competing at that level again, playing that football is so important. And then you go to next season, especially obviously Spurs have been linked with signing another centre back, which we'll come on to in the next part of the pod. But it feels as if they're gearing up for another loan. So I wouldn't mind seeing both of them go out on loan. But I think again you've got to manage that club-trained, homegrown situation quite carefully.
That's the thing. I think
maybe I'd keep Dorrington around and give Phillips another loan next year, maybe, I think. What would you do?
Yeah. The same. I'd do the same. I think it's a good Europa League. It's a great competition. And I think Dorrington, you're not saying he's going to start Europa Leagues. We're not being like, it was like, I think if it was Conference League, then you're looking for their games that he could actually start. But Europa League is still a very, very high elite competition. So I think he'd be a great squad player for the Europa League to come on, get minutes, feel that sort of that pressure of you're playing for Tottenham now. This is what playing for Tottenham's like. And then maybe next year send him out on loan. But Europa League is a good time to sort of integrate him into that first team feel, that first team football. And actually Phillips, just send him on loan again. He needs to. He's got so much potential, but he needs to improve on the ball.
A little bit,
So maybe signing him for a team that has the ball a lot. I know maybe teams might not take that risk on him, but just know what it's like to play with like a lot of pressure at you and coming at you, a lot of pressure. Playing maybe Premier League football would be ideal, obviously, because you want him to be like ready-made.
Or that's a top half Championship team as well, like that sort of ball playing team, like
Yeah. But it would be perfect for him. So hopefully one of them gets that loan at least. Oliver Skip,
Skipito.
Skippy.
I think I feel for Ollie Skip because he's not getting on the bench at the moment, and it feels it's because this is kind of the strongest bench that Spurs have had, and we're kind of overloaded in those midfield positions when the likes of Basuma or Bentancur don't play, and if they're on the bench, or it's Højbjerg and Lo Celso on the bench, or Sars on the bench, it's hard to find the room. You've got 5 players there, or 6 players, including Skip, of Bentancur, Basuma, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, and Skip, and Sarr competing for those 2 midfield spots, because Maddison is that, obviously that number 10 is kind of a different structure in that midfield. So you've got 5 or 6 players competing for 2 spots in the team, and that means when it comes to your bench, that means you can only really afford to have 3 probably midfielders on there. And obviously Lo Celso gives you the flexibility to play him a little bit further up the pitch instead of Maddison if you need. So I think that's why Skip's suffering at the moment. And again, he might want to move on for his own career, but I think again, with the club-trained homegrown situation, I think I would keep Skip around. I think he's shown that he can do a job. Obviously, Sarr's not going to count as homegrown, so that's a spot that gets used up annoyingly. So I would probably, I'd keep Oliver Skip, I think I would. There's no point sending him out on loan. It's a keep or sell for me for Skip. And I think the positives to keep him probably outweigh the negatives. Although you might see that as a bit of a frustration, and I understand that. I think it might just be one of those brutal things for him in the sense that we just need you around the place a little bit. And obviously Spurs, there's going to be a couple of midfielders that go out the door anyway. Maybe that presents more opportunities for him, especially if we're in the Europa League. He's shown that he can be trusted at this level. So yeah, I'll keep Oliver Skip around.
I feel so bad for Oliver Skip, I really do, because remember when he was coming through under Nuno and Conte started at the beginning of Conte's reign, he was starting a lot. He got that injury and he hasn't really looked the same since. And I mean, we all thought we had an absolute player, and I'm thinking about that Chelsea screamer as well. It just he has had some really good moments over the last couple of years, but it's just the competition, and I feel so bad for him because I can't see us selling him. I can't see people bidding 20-25 mil for him, which is what I'd want from if we're going to sell Skip, because he will go on to do good things if he's playing regularly. Like I can see him playing for a mid-table Premier League side, and he showed his levels when he went on loan to Norwich. But I just think we're probably going to keep him because we're not going to accept loans for him, and he'll probably want to play. I mean, he's in January or in the summer. I think it was January. He was saying he's willing to go on loan again because he wants to play football, and I feel bad for him because that homegrown, that club trained quota is such a recurring issue, isn't it? And it's a theme. I can just see him just being almost wasted away, but he could be like a key player in the Europa League. I'm thinking Harry Winks scoring that screamer that he didn't mean. That could be Oliver Skip next year, and he'll learn from Winks' mistakes and say he meant to do it. But yeah, I just think Oliver Skip, like you're thinking, and it's like that Office meme, and it's like when he goes David Brent goes blind dating, and it's like the same sort of thing with Ange Postecoglou looking at his midfield options. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, Bentancur, come on, welcome to training, son. Welcome to training. Bergvall, how you doing? You come in here. Basuma, Kulusevski, Pat Mavitsar, and then Oliver Skip just arrives like that, and he's just like, "Oh fucking hell, like, what's he still doing here? Like, come on, Oliver Skip, how you doing, mate? Yeah, go on, go training." It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, there's so much competition for him. I just feel bad for him. But moving on then. So you're keeping Skip. Højbjerg.
I think it's time to sell. I think he's shown the value that he can bring, and I think he's been such a. I was going to say he's not been a crucial player for Spurs this season, but he has been, someone that we can definitely rely on, and a really mature member of the squad that has kind of made himself accountable or not made himself accountable, but made himself useful when required. But I think in terms of bringing in the money, and obviously he feels like he wants a change in his career. He's just hired a new agent. It feels inevitable. I think I'd cash in.
Yeah. I think he is replaceable as well. Exactly, like, even if we don't go out and spend 60, 70 mil.
He's been good, but you can, there's an upgrade there.
Yeah, you can buy a steady Eddie cover or go out all out. We'll go into the next part, but we'll go you could go all out on an upgrade on Basuma, or you could just replace Højbjerg. Basuma, then what do you think?
I think he's got to stay. He's keep him. I think it's been irrational. I think that people were saying that we should get rid of him.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not to say that he isn't upgradable. And again, sort of like what you just said about Højbjerg, but I think he's got to stay. I think he's
yeah. Madison, fucking get him out. He ain't been good enough recently. Get him gone. Yeah, swap deal with Eze.
Oh, mate, yeah. No,
you got to keep Madison. Lo Celso.
This is probably one of the most interesting ones because I think a lot of people would want to keep him. I think it's kind of a similar thing with Højbjerg, where it feels a little bit maybe unsettled once that change. He's not getting the football. I saw Real Betis apparently want to come back in for him and take him back there. One of their key targets. I think it's probably the right thing to do to sell, but I think there's still very much value in Lo Celso in terms of what he can bring to Spurs. But I just don't think we're going to see it. He's too injury prone. When he had that chance to really make an impact, he did, but then he was out again, and it's been a frustrating kind of season with Lo Celso. So I think it's probably the right time to cash in.
Yeah, I think so. 1 year left in his contract, and you want to get that. How has he got to 100 Spurs appearances? Like I can't even remember those
90 minutes. It's just crazy.
That's mad. Yeah, and I just think he's done himself good. He can do himself proud in the Spurs shirt because he's been excellent when he has cameoed this season. But if you're not fit, you're not it. And to get. You want to get a bit of money from the money you spent on him. How much did it cost to get him? Was it around 40 mil, 40, 50?
Yeah, it was quite a lot of money.
So it was quite expensive. So I just think drain that little bit of value you have out of him in the summer. He is a sellable asset, and then maybe Bergvall can do a job as that rotation option, or Kulusevski. Ryan Sessegnon then. I think we have an option on him to let him go on a free. I think for the best of his career, you just let him go off, maybe restart, work his way back up, because I feel so bad for Sessegnon.
Me too. I completely agree with you. I think it's just for his own career as much as anything. He's just not gonna get that chance at Spurs, and his body's let him down enormously, and it's so frustrating and so upsetting for him. But I think it's just time to give him a chance to move on. And
I think so. Yeah, and good luck to him, because I feel so bad for him. Like the amount of injuries he's got, the excitement when we signed him, thought we'd signed our Danny Rose replacement, and it just hasn't worked that way. And he has had a lot of chances. It's just he just plays like a player that doesn't trust his body, which is rightly so when you've had so many setbacks. And he has had some great games as well. In a Spurs shirt, and I think he just needs to get some game time, work your way back up, because he's got so much potential. He's still only 23 as well, which is ridiculous because he seems like he's been around for ages. Kulusevski,
keep 100%.
Keeping him. I think there has been rumours. Not rumours, but there's been a lot of conversation about
Napoli, isn't there? About like apparently if Conte was to take over at Napoli, I saw that. But I think Kulusevski is going to show us in these last few games of the season that it's just a little bit of a dip in form. And I think anyone that would want to sell him off the back of a few poor games just kind of sums up the entitled kind of current fan culture, not just around Spurs, but around a lot of clubs, that players aren't allowed to have bad moments. And I think Kulusevski has been one of the biggest victims of that. So I think 100% keep. I think it's going to be so key to Spurs moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. He's such a key player to have for his versatility in Europe.
Yeah, and so much of it, so much of it is in terms of profile as well. And it's just someone, a sort of a profile that's quite unique in football and something that we don't have outside of him. So for me,
that's the thing. It's there's been a lot of talk of he's not the ideal Ange winger, but he doesn't have to be. He can be a player that comes in and changes a dynamic, and if related to the opposition's tactical setup, if they know they're gonna play against like electric wingers, they'll set up to sort of nullify that, and then you bring on Kulusevski and just throw a spanner in the works for the opposition. I can see him being a key player. Sarr, Bentancur, keeping. Iago Santiago. Are we loaning him?
I was really impressed with Santiago yesterday. Every time, again, like I was saying it earlier, when that Man United coach was sort of chatting to me, he was just like, or I could sort of hear him. And every time Santiago got the ball, it was just like, he's electric, this kid. He's got. There's kind of the fear whenever he gets the ball on the opposition sides that he's played against the 21s this year. Such an exciting talent. I think maybe a loan. I think your loan will probably benefit Santiago. Again,
talking about,
I think it's one of those things where like people keep dragging Santiago's name into it because we are looking for that one-on-one dribbling dynamic winger, and he's certainly that. Loves to take his man on, will slow him down and go past him. Likes to come inside, can finish, can score. Like he is a really exciting prospect. But again, I think he needs to go and get kicked as a winger. Go and learn that way in maybe League One or League Two. He's still so young, so much to learn. So I'd probably go with a loan for Santiago.
Yeah, Son, not good enough. He can't hold the ball up. He can't play number 9. Get rid of him. Get him gone.
Yeah, time to go.
It's time to go. Keeping him, obviously. I'm going to save the Richarlison for last. Brian Hill and Manor Solomon, doing them together. What are you thinking?
I think it's time to move them both on. Yeah, I think it's time to move. And I say it's time with Solomon. It feels hard because he's only been here a year and he's had a massive injury hit season. He's only played up until September, and that was it. And he'd gone, and he's had setback after setback. So it's unfortunate for him, but I personally don't see it. And Hill, I think we've seen there's evidence there over a few years to say that I just don't think he's going to be good enough to play in this system. I think both of them should move on.
Yeah. Unless Brian Hill starts taking steroids and hits puberty at the same time.
Yeah. The thing is for me is,
and then we've got the best player in the world.
Yeah, the thing is for me, like a lot of it when I say about Brian Hill isn't even to do with the physicality. I don't. That's not an issue for me. It's just about like the bravery in certain situations, which I kind of struggle with in terms of what he does, and decision making at that kind of elite level just isn't there. Maybe plays too safe, not brave. Like, and again, that maybe isn't helping with physicality. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's time to move on.
Yeah. The thing is like you don't have to be a physical player like Bernardo Silva, etc., David Silva, but they still had that burst of that pace, not acceleration, but that burst of pace at the beginning. And then they're not the quickest, but they still had that pace to get out and away from defenders. Brian Hill just seems like he's got the ball stuck under his foot all the time, and he's quite slow and predictable, I think. But go and smash up the La Liga, mate, because he's so good every time he goes there on loan. And Manon Solomon, I've said this before. How the fuck have we managed to make a free signing look like a waste of money, or like look like? Do you know what I mean? Like he again, we're probably gonna have to loan him because he hasn't played this season.
Yeah.
People aren't going to be spending money on him unless you use him like a swap deal, FIFA career mode-esque. Like, you know, I think a loan, you're going to have to loan him. I don't know what injury, I don't know what injury problems he's had. He's had a few, and it seems like it's a recurring thing, and they just can't really solve it. It's shambolic. How have we made a free transfer look that bad? So I think time to move him on because he's not an actual asset to the club at the moment. So. He isn't. And he's only been there a year.
The conversations around Solomon when people say, "Hey, when he comes back, he'll be starting for Spurs over Werner and Johnson," and it's like, no,
you forget he plays for us.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. He just wouldn't.
Yeah. Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner.
Yeah, obviously Johnson keep. Yeah, definitely. Werner, I think I would still keep around. Obviously, people I think are being quite reactionary off the back of the Newcastle game. Misses a couple of chances that you'd expect him to do better, but still don't necessarily expect him to score. You're getting annoyed about stuff that you already know is there with Werner. Yes, you want that more clinical cutthroat option out there, but it's kind of the deal you kind of make. You know that he's not going to bring you that, but he brings you so much in other areas. Is he a starter for next season? No. Is he a very, very valuable squad option if he is there? 100%, especially in Europe. So I would keep Werner.
Yeah, 5 goal contributions in the Premier League so far, and also that's taken away. Like he's had a couple of moments where it's gone off a defender for an own goal and he doesn't get the assist,
which is mad to me, by the way.
The Udogie where it got. The Udogie like ricochet pass, or the pass that got like it was sort of intercepted, but it wasn't. He should have the assist for that. So I think he's a reliable player. You know what you're going to get from Timo Werner, but you also know his weaknesses as well. So it's sort of things that it's the sort of thing you can accept, and he can be there for that depth because and Ange seems to love him. He starts every game. That just speaks volumes. That he's one of the first names on Ange's team sheets, and he's a lone player. So I think that sort of gives you an insight into what our man Postecoglou right now in this scenario. So I'm keeping him.
I agree with you, mate.
And then Scarlett and Donnelly. Are we loaning? Who are we loaning out of them to?
It's hard. I think again, it's a bit like centre back situations. Maybe loan one, keep one. He very much fancies Scarlett, and obviously Veliz is a player that we should talk about as well. And it feels like Veliz is going to go out on loan again. So I'd probably go with. I'd probably second that and go with loan. Keep him.
Get him in the Prem.
Yeah, exactly. He's had a hard time at Sevilla, but the fact that a club like Sevilla came and picked him up shows that there is real potential there. He's just unfortunately had a bit of a difficult loan, and it's so hard to predict these loans, whether it's actually going to go well or not. You just never really know. But I think with Scarlett and Donnelly, I'd love to see Donnelly playing football for Spurs next season, but I would also quite happily see him go out on loan and play that football. Obviously, Alfie Devine is a player that I think, again, could benefit from maybe another loan. I think we should be so excited about him. But and obviously, like I said, he seemed to fancy Scarlett. So I think he'll keep one and loan one. Again, and obviously you've got to remember as well, like you can register the European squad twice, so you can have like some of these younger players in there. Obviously, don't count as it wouldn't count as players because they're club trained and homegrown and under the age and all those kind of things. But you could put them in the squad, and then you could like put them on a 6-month loan at the start of the season, and then they could come back in January, and then you could re-register them to get some competition at the back end of the season in the Europa League. So I would. I think I would give. I'd like to see them both stay, really, but maybe Scarlett another loan, maybe probably not in the Premier League, but maybe at the top end of the Championship again, and just hope it works out. He's unlucky with Ipswich. Like he went there, and they just caught fire without him in the team at the straight away. So it's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So that was keep and sell. Yeah. Well in Don Paratici. That was good. And now we're on to transfer targets. Okay, so who are you bringing in to the team? So obviously, is there a backup goalkeeper that you're going to bring to the table, or are you in this scenario? Is it just because I don't actually think we will bring in a backup goalkeeper. So we can save that.
I don't think we need to.
It looks like exactly. So defense. What positions need strengthening?
I think obviously with the Udogie news today, I think fullbacks definitely have to be looked at. I think if you're looking at an expensive option in terms of the way we want to play, if you want to be ambitious, I think someone like Ryan Ait-Nouri from Wolves would be an amazing addition at left back to sort of help manage Udogie's workload and fitness as well. Both quite similar in profile, both so powerful, both brilliant to drive on the ball. You can see him really working in that inverted fullback. He sort of played a little bit in midfield for Wolves as well. He's excellent, so technically secure, really defensively sound as well. That would be an amazing signing, but I can't quite see that. I think Spurs might bring in one fullback that they maybe think can play on both sides, or maybe a centre-back that can also fill in at fullback. Someone like a Simican, who's been linked. He's got like a £59 million release clause. I believe Spurs and Newcastle.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, isn't it?
I think it makes sense because I think if you again, you're going to need another understudy for Pedro Porro, but let's talk about Emerson not leaving. But if this is me, I think Emerson needs to kind of be moved on off the back of the sort of keep or sell that we did. So I think someone like Simican would be quite sensible. But for that fullback position, I think I'm going to go with someone like Archie Gray from Leeds, because I think he can kind of cover off two positions, that number 6, that long-term sort of future there in midfield. He's so technically secure, brilliant on the ball. He's played at fullback for most of the season for Leeds, but has stepped in midfield. I think it'd be the perfect kind of long-term inverted fullback for Spurs if we continue to play the system. Obviously, homegrown as well. I've just been so impressed whenever I watch him for Leeds at such a young age. I think I'd look to bring someone like him in and then target maybe a centre-back alongside that in defence.
Yeah, because he Archie Gray, like, I mean, this was me a couple of days ago. I was in my lecture, not listening to what was going on, just watching Archie Gray videos on YouTube. The kid's going to be special. He's going to be a star. Like, I was watching him, and the thing is as well, like he again, he's been playing as that number 6. I don't know whether he could come in and be that Basuma sort of deputy to Basuma or challenge Basuma. That's a big step to expect from him. But he has been playing right back as well. He can fill in at right back, and that sort of channel that he occupies is where Porro is likely to be in games, and you can see him come in and be transitioned into that right back by his positional play, and he looks really competent in one-on-one duels, and if he has experience in playing in a back line, then that transition won't be too much. Like, I don't think you could expect too much from him to do that. Archie Gray, brilliant shout. I really think he could play as an inverted fullback. And then what's the next one?
And then centre-backs. I think centre-backs is an interesting one because we've been linked with Tosin Adebayo. I don't think we necessarily need to spend big in that position because you've got Van der Ven, Romero, Dragusin there, potentially one of Phillips or Dorrington to stay around as well, and you want to give them maybe an opportunity if they don't go out on loan. I think Tosin, at first I was a little bit underwhelmed by it because we've been linked with him for so long. I think he would be a good option again, cheap, homegrown. He's got Premier League experience. I think I would probably do that and then spend my money further up the pitch where I think bigger reinforcements need to be had. I think with the defensive issues for Spurs at the moment, it isn't necessarily the personnel. It's more they're being exposed as results of faults within the system further up the pitch. So I think someone like a Tosin Adebayo would be a good signing. Again, like I said, if I was to make a big money signing in defence to sort of really bolster those fullback options, I think Ait-Nouri would be perfect. Kyle Walker-Peters has been spoken about as well as someone that can fill that side. So maybe if Archie Gray doesn't come in, someone like Walker-Peters could be a good option. Yeah. But I think I'd be happy with that. Moving on to midfield. I feel like there's been a lot of chat around Yves Bissouma and whether he needs to be upgraded or not. I'm very happy with our midfield options, but I do think we need that kind of different profile. And I think that's what's kind of a recurring theme throughout the squad in terms of the way Ange wants to play and the way the system leaves us exposed defensively and further up the pitch as well. So in terms of some sort of deficiencies there, I think it's more about personnel and actual profile. So we don't really have that destroyer, proper big midfielder that's going to cover the ground, eat up the yards kind of on the pitch. And I think Amadou Onana, I don't think he's perfect. He's certainly not the most well-rounded finished article yet, but he has got bags of potential. And if Spurs could maybe get sort of cut price deal with Everton, their financial situation they're in, or if they get relegated, I think Amadou Onana would be a really smart investment for Spurs. Like I said, I don't think he's there yet. But I think he will get there if he goes to that big club and makes that move and the pressure kind of goes on him. So I think Onana is someone that I would look at. Obviously, there's kind of maybe younger sort of options as well. You could look at someone like a Vifer. There's been vague links to someone like a Zubimendi, but I think that's been more from other clubs in the Premier League. And I think he's that bit older. I think Zubimendi's more like 25, and I think he's more of that passer rather than that sort of destroyer that we need. Hulmand as well from Sporting Lisbon. There's been links to him. Obviously,
him off.
The Arsenal tattoo. Again, we sort of talked briefly about. We didn't really mention Tyrese Hall yesterday for the under-21s. We had an exceptional game in terms of what he can maybe do out on loan next year. I think you've got a long-term player maybe in that position for sure. But I think Onana would be someone that I would look to maybe bring in because I don't think there's that many in terms of like alternative Rodri Rice profiles. The other one I'd say, I think if it was not in terms of thinking too much about the future of this project, I think João Paulinho would be my number one target. And actually, I think if we're talking about if the question's more centered around like how do we compete and make that real step up next year, I think Paulinho would be absolutely perfect. I think Paulinho's 28, so again, signing someone in their prime who would make that step up, who would make us better. I think that's probably who I would go for. Paulinho, but I think in terms of the long-term project, it'd be Onana, but I'd be happy with either of them, really.
Yeah. Onana over Paulinho is definitely like that sort of club move as well. Like you can see Tottenham doing that 100%. And also Paulinho probably costs the same amount of money, and you've got potential there for a resale value on Onana, and it wouldn't be the same on with like Paulinho. Could you see us signing Onana and Archie Gray though?
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't think so. No, I think that means that then the knock-on effect of signing that midfielder and Onana might make you look at more of a traditional sort of fullback, and that's when someone like Walker Peters, who can play both sides, sort of comes back into the fray a little bit. But this is my track. This is our transfer.
Exactly, Don Prachi. You're sticking to your guns.
Does what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, if we sell like midfielders, if we sold earlier, we sold Lo Celso, Højbjerg, Skips like quite limited. Obviously, we said that. And Archie Gray still could be a player that we can rely on as well. In the team, as a midfielder, he's versatile. So that sort of versatility is someone you're looking for. I forgot to say as well. I think someone I bring in is someone that instead of tossing Adebayo for me, I really like Calafiori. Is that how you pronounce it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Calafiori. Obviously, I'm not going to pretend like I've watched so much of Bologna this season, but I have seen clips, and obviously I know that Thiago Motta's doing bits there as a manager. Yeah, we're playing on the front foot, possession based football. So that sort of type of that versatile can play centre back, but also cover left back. If we're going to be practical and efficient in our spending, players that have that versatility would be good. So I think I'd go for him, that left-footed centre back. But anyway, moving on so we've gone past Onana. Who else are you going for?
I think in terms of that forward line, there needs to be a bit of a replenishment in terms of the profile there as well. You've got that real need for that sort of focal point number 9, but also that need for that out-and-out dribbly winger that everyone's sort of been crying out for the whole season. I think someone like Nico Williams would be perfect for that. We've talked about Eze a hell of a lot. I would absolutely love Eze at Spurs, but I'm a little bit concerned as to how he sort of fits in with Maddison there. I think that would be Eze's best position, playing in sort of that 10. He likes to play in those kind of that left inside channel in the pockets of space there. So I think Eze would be that number one choice if we were looking to sort of fulfill someone that could play in the 10 and compete with Maddison and play out wide. But I think with Eze, like he struggled to really make an impact off the left in Glasner's system. I think he's an excellent ball carrier from deep, and I think that's why he's better in midfield than he is out on the wing. He can be more effective. And, everyone thinks of Eze with the flair and scoring the brilliant goals, but he's an excellent technical footballer that could play really well in midfield. Could you play him and Maddison together? I'm not 100% sure. So I think I would look to bring in someone who is that more specialist winger profile. I think Nico Williams is that guy. £43 million release clause has made such an impact for Bilbao this season. Copa del Rey winner. I think he's got the joint most assists in La Liga this season. Wins penalties, can go both sides. He's an unpredictable, quick winger who I think would be perfect for Spurs. So I'd go with Nico Williams.
Yeah. I 100% me too as well. 43 million is a bargain in today's game. So 100% he can. I don't know why I've got Alzheimer's. Bloody hell. He can play either wing, and he just a young 43 mil. Ridiculous for the player of his ability, and he's another one of those players he can grab a game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, Nico Williams 100%. I don't actually see many players rivaling him for that in the market for that price, that potential, his quality, what he'd add straight away to the team. I can't see anyone getting near him for targets. No. There's a drop off from him if we're going to be looking at that type of player. So I think he'd be perfect. Him and Pedro Neto, but Pedro Neto keeps getting injured, so there's no point going for him because if you're not fit, you're not it. So moving on to strikers, and this brings me to Richarlison because I actually forgot to mention Richarlison in keep or sell. Would you sell Richarlison, and does that impact who we then go for as a striker?
Yeah.
Does it rely on him being
That's
sold?
what the kind of the word is, isn't it? Paul O'Keefe said that they will target a striker depending on what happens with Richarlison. I've said it all along. I think if Spurs are going to sign a striker, I think it has to be an upgrade on Richarlison for sure. Otherwise, there's not that much point in doing it. So I'm only really interested in strikers that are going to be that clear upgrade. And I think that kind of brings me to two realistic options. Ivan Toney, who actually isn't playing for Brentford at the moment. So
no, he's not, is he?
It's a bit of a bizarre one. They scored 5 goals without him yesterday. He hasn't been playing for the last few weeks. It's a funny one there. So I think Toney, in terms of what he brings in terms of his hold-up play, like I said, our defensive weakness has been exposed by our inability to keep the ball in those sort of positions on the pitch and be vulnerable in the transition when teams do press us in those areas, which was evident against Newcastle for 2 of the goals, at least. So, yeah, I think someone like Toney would be perfect. A clinical killer in the box as well. Brilliant penalty taker. He's got an incredible strike on him. I just think Toney would be perfect. But if not, someone who's a couple of years younger, both sort of coming into their prime or in their prime. Dominic Solanke, I think, would be someone who would be brilliant for Spurs, like a brilliant acquisition. I think they're kind of would cost around the same amount. Yes, we can sit here and talk about Isak and Gyökeres, but that's just not going to happen in terms of, I mean, they would be perfect for Spurs. I think Isak is genuinely the best striker in the Premier League in terms of the overall complete package. Him and Watkins, for sure. But I think Toney or Solanke, I think I'm actually leaning a bit more towards Solanke. I think this would be a great time for him to make that step up. I really like what I see from him. I like his character. I think he's taken a huge step up this season in a system under Iraola at Bournemouth, where they actually play that progressive football. So much importance is on him. So much goes through him. He's a really deft finisher. Has got that Harry Kane almost like whip across the ball into the bottom corner. We saw that against Manchester United. His hold-up play is excellent. His all-round game has improved so much. I think people will say, well, this is the first time he's really done it in the Premier League. He scored 5 goals, I think, last season, but you've got to put it into context. That was a really struggling Bournemouth side who are fighting a relegation battle under different managers, with Gary O'Neill coming in, obviously, there. So I think 100%, I think Solanke would be that guy for me. I think he's made a huge step up this season. I like him. I think he's the guy for me. I think I'd go with Dominic Solanke. I think I'd actually go with him over Toney,
Really? Because they'll both cost the same amount of price, Solanke and Toney. For me, I think Toney is a level above Solanke.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
But again, you're talking about the age difference. A couple of years, Solanke will be in a pump probably at the same sort of age. Thing with Solanke is that I don't know. You'd really want to upgrade Richarlison if you sell Richarlison. If you're getting, say, 40 odd mil for Richarlison, 40 and above, I think you do sell. I don't think if we're not generating that much like in bids for Richarlison, there's no point selling him. But either way, I think I'd like to see a signing coming in with just Richarlison's fitness throughout this season. We haven't actually been in Europe yet. Son looks shattered, and he's playing. He's played obviously in the Asian Cup, but again, that's the same amount that equals the same amount of games he'd be playing if he played in Europe, and you need that extra player. Obviously, Valisa's going to get some loan time, hopefully. Scarlett, and it leaves Richarlison and Son. But if Richarlison keeps getting injured, we need that player that's going to come in and we've been crying out for a player that can come in, hold the ball up, be dominant in the box, just be a nuisance. Richarlison can do that to the much higher standard than Son, obviously, but even still, I still think we can upgrade in that sort of that striker mold. And Solanke, if Solanke comes in, I can see we could have Solanke and Richarlison, I think, and have Son as someone that can cover both positions, because they do offer a different dynamic for Richarlison and Solanke. Richarlison's so effective in the fact that he's just such a rat, isn't he? Like he's such a hustler, and he gets in the face of the opposition. Solanke, can hold the ball up. His link-up plays really good. He's quite silky when he runs with the ball. He's very aesthetically pleasing. He also seems like a great lad, as well. I'm saying lad. I'm 20 years old. He's 25, but he seems like a really humble person, like to have around the dressing room. I can see him getting along with like Maddison and Blair's in our dressing room. Toney doesn't seem that, and I think Postecoglou will see Solanke or Toney, someone that's quite humble, someone that wouldn't necessarily be causing headlines if Son starts ahead of him in a game where we're going to be playing in a more transitional game. or if Richarlison gets game time. Solanke, obviously, he'll be ambitious. He'll want to play. But Tony, I feel like if Tony's not starting every game, he'll throw up a fuss, and the first chance he gets of throwing the club under the bus, he'll do it. Obviously, he's got a track history of doing that for Brentford. So why wouldn't he do that for Spurs? And also, the thing about Postecoglou is, so you see Tony gagging for a move. He's gagging for a move to the top six. And then you look at Solanke, who it hasn't even been really linked to move away, but he probably will move from Bournemouth this season after such an impressive season. But you look at Solanke and you think he's not going to throw a fuss if he can't leave Bournemouth. He'll carry on doing his thing, but if a team comes in for him that he sees as the right path, he'll probably sign. But Tony's the antithesis in the fact that he's gagging for that top six move. Postecoglou will look at that and think, I don't want. He may think, I don't want Tony because he'll take whatever he can get. Solanke, I want Solanke because, and another reason is that he sort of resembles that Postecoglou, the player that sort of epitomizes what Postecoglou wants, in the fact that they've gone on a journey and they've shown the mentality to go get back to the top. They've struggled in their journey to the top, and it just shows, it's testament to their character. So obviously Postecoglou had a lot of setbacks in his managerial career. He'll sign players like Vicario that have made their way from the bottom to the top. Obviously Tony did that with like Petersborough and Brentford in the Championship, but Solanke was that star boy playing for Chelsea, playing for Liverpool, and then just fell off, and they had to work his way back into conversations. And now he is being talked about, and obviously he came into the Prem, scored 5 goals 2 years ago, then he scored 30 goals in the Championship, and then he's replicating that type of form in the Premier League. He has now made that jump, so it's taken him a while, but it shows so much about his personality, his character, and any striker looking at Spurs knows they're going to get bundles of goals. He will get bundles of goals, so I think he'll still be that player that, I know Tony's much more better player now, but Solanke to fit for the harmony of the dressing room, fit that system, he'd fit that big striker role. I think Solanke is the one. I know that's like long story fucking long.
No, I'm completely with you. I think he's got exactly the right temperament and character, and he's kind of got that. I'm really pleased for Solanke because he was, like you said, he was kind of seen as one of the next big things coming through, and I think over time he's matured into an excellent striker and a really good all-round option. So I think he would be my pick.
Yeah. So is there any other like outside striker shouts or not?
I think that people will talk about someone like Santiago Jimenez, but like I said, I think that, again, decent player, but I think this striker signing needs to feel like a step forward and an upgrade. Someone that we could potentially rotate Richarlison with in Solanke. I'd love to keep Richarlison around in terms of, like I said, if you go through Premier League squads, you wouldn't find many better backup strikers than Richarlison, really, in terms of what he's been able to offer Spurs this season. I think having Solanke and Richarlison as your striker options going into next year feels brilliant. But it's just whether Spurs can balance the squad and manage it so that is the case, and they both kind of feel happy with the game time. So in an ideal world, I'd keep Richarlison and buy Solanke, but I think that might be quite hard to do that. So I think it might end up being, if that does happen, I think Richarlison might end up being sold because, again, are you going to get more money for someone like Richarlison than you would this summer?
No, probably not. He's a very valuable asset, Richarlison. So we probably would generate like quite a bit of money for him. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. What we need is like a Fernando Llorente, come in, do a job, it doesn't complain at all, and is a clutch player in those big moments. I mean, that season when we got to Champions League final, he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding, and he didn't throw up a fuss ever. And he'd come in whenever we were playing against a low block, and he'd score, or he'd provide assists, or be that target man. And he was that plan B. And a lot of people look at, we need a plan B. No, we just need a profile that allows us to break down low blocks. And not Llorente. I'm not even comparing Llorente to Solanke because I think Solanke is a more complete player than Llorente. But someone that could just come in and do a job that just offers something different to Richarlison or Sonny would be perfect without kicking up a fuss. Perfect then. So let's look at what you've done transfer-wise. So you're going for Solanke, yeah? So the first player you mentioned was Archie Gray. What price are we putting on Archie Gray? We're going to see how much budget we're going to be spending on this window.
I reckon about 30-40 million, 35. Let's go with an in-between of that.
Okay. So plus Rodon, Yeah, we'll give him Rodon, So 35 plus Joe Rodon. Let's say Leeds don't come up. I think they'd take that. Tossing, you got on a free. So no money spent there. Yeah, nice. Are you going for Ain't Nori? Are you going for?
I don't see it. I think I think I'd. As much as I'd love to, I just can't see that. Again, in an ideal world, yes, but I think we might have to leave that one alone.
Yeah, Onana 60 mil.
But it's like I think I want Paulinho, but I think Onana is the Either of them are 60 million. Yeah. Let's put them both down there, and then let's put the same price tag for both because they will be around the same money.
Hang on, mate. I think Daniel Levy's just walked in. He just heard you say that. He's telling me to go. He's telling me to go for Onana.
The younger option with resale value. Okay, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then you went for Nico Williams at 43 million. And then Solanke, what were you saying for Solanke? 40, 45?
50, I reckon.
50,
nice
50 mil.
Number.
Okay. Fuck.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Mil. So that comes to 188 mil. Plus, we've generated some, that's not net profit or net spend. We've generated about
£100 million,
100 mil. So you're saying you generate almost like a 90 mil in sales. Yeah, I agree. So, and already like 25 plus 45 that for Emerson and Richarlison, that's 70 mil. Plus Højbjerg, Celso, all these players. I can see us generating about 100 mil in at least. Plus all the players we got on loan. Troy Parrott, obviously Rodon, Tanganga, Regulon. So if there is money we can make. And yeah, the only change I'd do that is someone like Califorri. And then again, that's 25 mil. So that rounds it to 215 mil. Plus Werner.
Yeah,
230. I don't know. Yeah, Werner. I forgot about Werner. But yeah. So I actually think. Do you know what? I'm here right now.
It's a pretty successful transfer window, I'd say.
Successful transfer window. 2024, 2025 Premier League winners as well, doing a double. Europa League and Premier League. That's all I'm hearing. Exciting times ahead. But perfect. I think that's everyone we kind of need. I think that's a complete transfer window. To be honest. Let us know the players you want to sign. And then finally, we are going to look at, and if you're still with us, thank you, because it's been a long pod. But again, we haven't had any Spurs content. Yeah, it's sort of looking to the future. We are going to look at our running to the end of the season and see, is there a possibility of Champions League football? So could we? I think there may be a conversation. So we're going to look first at the next upcoming game. Obviously, we're going to preview this later this week. But Arsenal at home. What are we doing in that game? Are we winning? Are we drawing? Or are we
felt a lot better about
Ben Bowman. Take it away.
I felt a lot better about this game prior to the doggy news and Arsenal winning yesterday. But they've still got to play Chelsea before then. You know, they are starting to look a little bit leggy, but again, I think they put to bed that a little bit last night. I thought Rice was very, very good. But I think draw. I think we'll take points off of them. I do. I think I can see another draw. Ben Davies, big performance at left back. I think we'll get a point against Arsenal. And then Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea's
next. Chelsea, what you saying?
I think it's going to be. I think we'll get a point off Chelsea as well. I can see it being a draw.
Okay,
I really want to be optimistic about the Arsenal game.
Optimistic?
Yeah, well, I know the fact that we've drawn 2 games and that scene is optimistic. Yeah, but there are 2 games where it will be very hard. But you know, Chelsea away we have the terrible record. But yeah, I'd like to think we can get a draw there.
Yeah, I say we beat Chelsea.
Yeah,
I say if we turn up, we haven't actually turned up to a game like in the first half since that Chelsea game, and obviously it went to shit. Obviously lost our heads within 30 minutes, but if we can replicate that and keep our heads this time, I can see us beating Chelsea 100%. But it's just that sort of curse of the fixture. I mean, we haven't won there since Dele Alli. What is the stats there? Because we actually never win at Stamford Bridge.
One win in the Premier League era.
Yeah, and that was Dele Alli, wasn't it? Dele Alli died to Delhi. And then Liverpool. Fuck me, we are in the trenches, aren't we?
It's not looking good, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, Liverpool. I lose. I think I just can't. That our record at Anfield is horrific. I think we'll lose that game. I want to be optimistic, but that's 2 points from 3 games so far.
And we've taken points off Arsenal, and then their rivals have won a game. So we're doing bits. We're having our say. Tottenham Burnley at home.
We should win that. Scored 4 goals.
It is so Spurs.
Scored 4 goals.
Yeah. getting into form just for the Spurs game. So typical. But the thing is, knowing Spurs, we have the potential to beat City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal, and then lose to Burnley and then Sheffield United at the end of the season. But after that, so that's a win. After that, we go to Manchester City.
Yeah, I mean, when we went to the Etihad, obviously we got the point earlier on the season. At home, it's going to be one of those. It's going to be a tetchy atmosphere if Arsenal are still within a shout of winning the title. So it's going to be a weird one, and you kind of want it to be all over. And hopefully, the fact that if we take a point off of Arsenal or 2 points off of Arsenal, then maybe that game feels a little bit better. But I think at City at home, I think we draw again. I think we get a point off City. I do. Maybe I don't want us to by the time we don't know what's going to happen in that game, but I could just see us getting a point there. And then moving on to Sheffield United, which who knows what's going to happen in that game.
Yeah, I think City will beat us. And again, at the end, if they win the league, I think Sam Cornish said, didn't he? What did Sam Cornish say?
It was like we're all at the pitch invasion? Will it be a pitch invasion from both sides?
Yeah, imagine we storm the pitch, hugging the City players, doing
imagine
the pause,
if we storm the pitch and their fans don't as well, by the way.
We're just there like, fucking yes!
We are the champions.
Today is going to be the day.
Let's all do the Poznan.
We're doing the Poznan. Yeah, I mean, I'd actually do that. I would do that. If it meant Arsenal lost it, 100%. Sheffield United away, but hopefully we can beat Sheffield United. We can fucking send them down.
I mean, I don't think we'll be the ones sending them down.
That's true. That's true. Although it does give me Newcastle vibes when we lost 5-1 to Newcastle. Was it 5-1?
Yeah, but they did also lose 4-1 at home to Burnley yesterday, so every club.
Yeah, that is true. So hopefully, exactly. So, right. So Ben, you're telling me that we've get a point from Arsenal, a point from Chelsea, and a point from City, and then one against Burnley, and then so that's 10 points.
Come on, is it
10 points?
That's I don't know. That's 9 points, isn't it? Arsenal draw, Chelsea draw, City draw. That's 3. Yeah, 9 points.
Fuck me, my maths is atrocious. Quality podcasting. So 9 points. So where does that put us in the table? That gives us 69 points.
Whee.
Nice. So that's 69 points. That means Villa only need to win 2 games in the running. Let's look at City. Villa's running 2 games out of 5 they need to win to get Champions League. They're playing Bournemouth next and Chelsea.
Coming up late.
Come on, Manchester United. They're playing away from Brighton, Liverpool, who's that, and Palace. Bournemouth, Chelsea. I can see a couple of hurdles.
You wouldn't have thought they drew 3 at home to Brentford, would you?
That's true. That is true. But I don't know. I think they beat Bournemouth. They beat Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good.
Whoa,
it's not looking good, blood.
Whoa.
I don't care. Europa League. It's elite anyways. Didn't even want Champions League. Champions League anyways.
Time people start recognising the true elite European competition.
Exactly. I don't want to be in that shit new branded Champions League.
Boring.
Anyway. Exactly. Join the Europa's where it's at. Europa, and we're going to win it. So it's a trophy. Exactly. Perfect. I think that's it, mate. I think that's it. It was I think that's it. Fucking almost a 2-hour pod. If you're still with us, thank you so much.
Yeah, well done.
We've
well done, everyone.
Exactly. Well done. And Ben, we've already recorded this pod before, so well done to you.
Thanks, mate.
For staying
Fingers crossed it works this time.
Oh my God!
Doesn't, we're in trouble.
If it doesn't, then no pods.
If you're hearing
to the Arsenal preview,
we made it.
Exactly. But we have come to the conclusion that it's looking like Europa League football, isn't it? Is there a chance of conference?
Hopefully not.
Fuck. 10 points.
I think we get 9 points. We'll be
United.
Fine.
It
win every single
game. It will be fine. Exactly. So we've come to the conclusion: Europa League, but we're winning Europa. We're winning the Europa League next year, and we're winning the Premier League next year with our transfer. So there's always every cloud.
Exactly.
So thanks for joining us, everyone. And Ben, where can we find Darren Doing, and where can we find you? on socials.
You can find Darren and Doing on Speedrun, Spotify, Apple. Give us a rating on both of those, 5 stars, please, if you must.
Exactly.
Automatic downloads, set it on Spotify. YouTube, full pods on there with shorter clips. There's going to be 3 or 4 this week, breaking down kind of, if you didn't make it this far, you wouldn't have known that anyway. But if you go over to YouTube, you'll see nice little 10-minute sections of some of the key stuff we talked about. That's going to come more in the future, more YouTube-style vids as well in the future over the summer as well, profiling transfer targets. So subscribe, put notifications on, leave a comment, share it with your mates.
Exactly.
TikTok as well, nearly 1,000 followers as well. Going to get some more clips back up on there. Good way to find us over there.
TikTok lives as well.
Yeah, we did one of them
They've
the other night.
Unbelievable.
Very fun.
Proby, you're a legend.
Shout out Proby.
Shout out Jeff Shilling.
Potatoes. And yeah, that's it. Instagram as well and Twitter, obviously. And then me, just basically the same places, but TikTok, Twitter, YouTube coming soon. Bash.
Nice.
Yeah,
and also
as well, TikTok, Twitter.
Go check it out. YouTube comes soon. That'll be unbelievable. And also, the little warning: if you do check out our TikTok lives, it's after the watershed. Okay, it gets a bit raunchy. All right, we were talking about who has the biggest knob in the change room, who's the worst in bed or best in bed. We were talking about loads of things. But just a little heads up.
Yeah.
All right, it does get raunchy.
Peggy 18.
Peggy 18, yeah. You have to, it comes up like, are you 18? Yes. But perfect. Thank you so much. If you have made it this far, up the Spurs. Enjoy. I know it is the weekend now, but enjoy the rest of the weekend. Spurs free.
Exactly.
And we'll be back for the Arsenal preview. Legends. Catch you later.
Up Spurs.